Welcome to Creator Upload, your creator economy podcast. I am Lauren Schnipper.
And I'm Joshua Cohen. Lauren.
Back from the halls of Congress.
Yes,
Cohen.
I was in the halls of
everybody.
Congress.
First of all, we have an amazing interview today. Robert, I'm going to mess up his last name, Kaliati. You're going to have to make sure that that's correct. He's the president and CEO of Hammer Media. You're going to get into what they're doing there. There's some very interesting sort of paywall things happening. Great, exciting, but really need to understand how you are shaping the future lives of the citizens of this country. Go.
Lauren, I'm just basically practicing my First Amendment, which, gives people the freedom of religion, speech, the press, peaceful assembly, but also, importantly, the right
He definitely
to petition
Googled
the
that.
government.
He definitely didn't know that. Go on. Definitely. Sorry.
No, that was a
Yes.
preamble we had before we entered the room where all these representatives of Congress were to talk about the Creator Caucus and what creators are, what they do, how they're an important fabric of the modern economy, and more.
So you were there with what organization? Creator Caucus. Give us more details about this.
Great question. I'm glad you asked.
Thank you.
What is the
Thank
Creator
you.
Caucus? So it is an organization. It's a bipartisan group called the Congressional Creators Caucus, and it started in June 2025 by Reps Beth Van Doon and Yvette Clarke. Beth Van Doon is a representative in Congress from Texas. Yvette Clarke is from New York, specifically Brooklyn. And basically the
Democrat
genesis
and Republican,
for this...
Republican and Democrat, cross-party lines. Go on.
As many of these bipartisan events are.
That's right.
The genesis for this happened when Representative Beth Van Doon went to the kind of like grand opening of Dude Perfect's new facility in Texas. It's not quite in her district, but it's close to her district. And she was invited there by Dude Perfect as really a way to show local representatives how big the creator economy is and what it's doing. And she went there and she saw it with her own eyes. And that was her kind of like aha moment where it clicked for her. She got it. All these videos that these young people in her life watch, they're just seen on a screen, but then putting some kind of IRL fabric on top of that and going and seeing these facilities, going and seeing how Dude Perfect at their new offices are employing like 60 plus individuals in the state of Texas really created this moment for her where she's like, okay, I get it now. This is an important part of our ecosystem.
People don't understand that it takes work to make videos. They just think like there's still many people that just think the internet just gets turned on and all the things are there. And I don't mean that in a disparaging way. I just think that like people are busy and live lives that are not in media. This is years ago, but I'll never forget. I was on the phone with I want to say like an insurance company or something really random when I had first worked at Facebook. And I think they were like asking me who my employee was. And I was like, Facebook. And they were like, oh, I didn't know anybody worked there. Like, this is like, I swear to God, I will never forget this. And this is a while ago. This was like 2014. But like still like, that it's a company, you know what I mean? And it was big enough at that point, but people just, why would they? So like, this is so new that like until I used to take people that didn't understand anything about this sort of industry to sort of VidCon to see like the expo floor and all that sort of stuff, to see the fans, which is still, I think, effective. But a lot of times where I like to like try to get people to see things are like Darman Studios, go to a Dude Perfect, go to Mythical, and you just walk in the door and you're like, oh, this is a company. I might not understand what they do, but it's a company. And then to your point, you're like, okay, the companies have HR and then they have employees and they have to do it and they pay taxes. And then you're like, oh, I've got to service this. You know what I mean? And then the things like this happen,
And so the experience that you just talked about, Lauren, is would be a great example, would be a kind of easy outcome for lots of what these creators go through on a daily basis when they're trying to get mortgages, when they're filing their taxes, when they are looking for accountants and legal representation that understand their ecosystem and this industry. There are lots of stumbling blocks because creators aren't this seen entity in terms of the eyes of the government. So when they are going to file their taxes, there's no creator drop down, which means that there is no sense of like how big this ecosystem is, how many people are employed as actual creator in the eyes of the government. And that has a ton of these downstream effects where then it's very difficult to get funding, financing, other types of goods and services, apply for SBA loans, because
I
what
was
kind of
gonna say,
small
like,
business
small
are you?
businesses. Yeah, exactly. Like, how do you even think about this, thinking about filming and permitting and, like, all that sort of stuff. Should you have regulations? Should you not have that? Like, what does that even look like, you know? No, I think I mean, it is a new industry, and there's historically in this country been many new industries that, like, then the government has to build laws and regulations and or not, or just, like, understand, and I think, so you again, serving the people. So you're there, you're at the Creator Caucus, like, what are you doing? Like, what did or, like, what how are they mining you for just, like, answers and information? Like, what's happening?
Just to get a little bit more context about how it started, Matthew and Stephanie Patrick of The Game Theorist, they really spearheaded this initiative and brought this group together and really gave it a shape and a form. And now there's several members of Congress who are part of it. And what's really interesting here is this can be a true bipartisan issue and not a coastal issue either, because there are creators in every single congressional district.
Yeah, Matt and
And there are
Stephanie live
people
in North Carolina now. They don't even live in, you know?
exactly.
Mhm.
And so what the Creator Caucus is this organization where these members of Congress can be part of it, and they bring in different creators and experts within the industry to come get some face time with these members of Congress so they can answer questions on one end of the spectrum being like, what is a creator? How do they get paid? How do they operate?
Mhm.
And the other end of the spectrum to be to, okay, what do you really need for us to make an impact here? I understand how this ecosystem works. What's going to be really beneficial for you? And that can be talking about AI likenesses and being protected against deepfakes. It
Mhm.
can be about getting this NICS code, which is that drop down when you file your taxes about that you are a creator that has those
Mhm.
downstream effects that we talked about, to talking about how getting paid on a net 120 isn't sustainable for these small businesses when they're making these brand deals, and a whole lot more. So it can run the kind of gamut of questions. And we were there to provide a face that's not a member of one of the major platforms. It's not employed by one of these big companies that's lobbying Congress to get more recognition for this. In the room, there was YouTube there was TikTok there, Patreon, Instagram, Meta, and more, all with kind of like representatives that they chose to bring out in order to interface with these different individuals, these members of Congress and their staffers. And this is really interesting for members of Congress, I think, for a few different reasons. One is just that there's a huge economic impact that YouTube and the creator economy at large have on the U.S. economy.
Mhm.
So YouTube just released a report that said overall, not just YouTube, but overall, the creator economy in the US contributes $110 billion to the GDP. That's
Wow.
bigger than several states.
Yeah.
YouTube alone, this was the report they did with the Oxford School of Economics last year. They said YouTube contributed $55 billion to the US GDP, which again is bigger than at least a couple states.
Right.
There's 490 or 500,000 jobs that are attributed to just being part of this YouTube creator ecosystem. And you put that all on top of like YouTube is now 12 to 13% of all US television consumption.
Right. Right.
Streamers are consumed on TVs more than broadcast networks now. And you have all these other contributing factors to just the overall meta narrative that like the internet's big, YouTube's big, creators are a thing. They should be recognized and just on par with other types of small businesses and workers in our economy.
Well, I think it's also just like you were mentioning the downstream effects, but the other downstream is like you're talking about like in Los Angeles, like here, like it's like, when like the industry they stop making films here, well, the downstream effects of that are like the caterers, the hair people, the makeup
Right.
people, like the sort of like below the line people that are like make up the working class of LA, which has really been decimated because of this. And so you've got this new sort of industry that's going to have all of those kinds of people that are going to be supporting it that are very much not the person on the camera, right? There's going to be I mean, we've got Jimmy who's creating a whole, through that, I think it's Eastern Carolina University or something like that, like a whole program for people to like learn how to not necessarily be YouTubers, but learn how to support the like the YouTube video ecosystem, the creator video, I should say, ecosystem. So there's like people that are training to do this that are going to go out to the workforce to try to get jobs that might not necessarily, again, be to be like on camera, but they're like going to be in the industry. And so, it's like it seems really frivolous. But it's actually not when you've got, what is it? One out of every like four kids says they want to be a YouTuber when they grow up. Like, we'll talk about if that's a good idea, but like you got to start paying attention to that because those people eventually are going to be voting. And so it's like,
100%.
and so, I mean, it's definitely like better late than never, but at least these conversations are starting.
In 2026, over 50% of the U.S. voting population is going to be composed of Gen Z and millennials. And they grew up with all this content.
I'm telling you, they really did. Real quick, you also went to Published Press the other day, Khan and Samir's event, and tell us what happened there. Tell us all about it.
So it was their second Press Publish event, the first one they had in New York last year, which was fantastic. This year, it was on the Fox lot in Los Angeles. It focused on the intersection of Hollywood and creators. And I thought it was a fantastic event. They had a marching band, Lauren, on the Fox lot that escorted people from one location to another, which I thought was just ingenious.
It was like the UCLA marching band, right?
It's the UCLA marching band, which is
cool.
just great use of a marching band. I also think humans are innately programmed to follow people playing instruments.
Yeah. I think
And
people
so if
in
you want to
general,
move people from one location to another, get a marching band.
yeah, what are you gonna be like? No, I'm not gonna follow the marching band. Like, of course you're gonna
Exactly.
follow the marching band. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, I love that. Like, that would have been enough for me. I'd have been like, great, this event's I'm already good.
And then there were a bunch of panels and sessions too.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorites was Markiplier came out as a surprise guest. Markiplier, Mark Fishbach, who just recently is one of the darlings of indie Hollywood because his movie Iron Lung was independently produced. He wrote, starred, directed, produced it, and more for the tune of like $4 or $5 million bucks, and then went on to make 50-something million in the box offices. He was on stage just talking about his process, how he did it. I think he's a unique individual who is fiercely independent and, for better or worse, wants to be involved in every single component of how his film is being made. So he talked about kind of the trials and tribulations of going through that process. And he talked about how his film is now available to be rented or bought on YouTube. And that process was not an easy one. He was joined on stage with Tim Waltz, who is taking over for Tara Walpert-Levy as the VP of the Americas at YouTube. I think this is one of his first big public speaking moments in that new role. He mentioned how YouTube now has 15 different ways that creators can make money on the platform.
Oh, wow.
He said, please don't ask me what all of them are.
Sure.
Yet,
Fair.
but there's 15 different ways. One of them are these purchases of movies. But it's not an easy process. You usually have to be part of a studio or part of an established distribution network. Markiplier was neither of those. There's no just like upload portal that you can go put your stuff up on YouTube to be rented or bought.
Right.
And he had to create his own kind of mini distribution network in order to get his own film up on the platform. And he'll be then utilizing the distribution platform to get other films from creators he likes up on YouTube too.
So basically he created a little mini studio. So is he sort of like saying he's open for business if you have a film, like this is the best way to do it, is just go through me? Like, is he going to take a cut? Like, what?
That,
yeah,
he's mentioned that in the press. He didn't talk a ton about that on stage. More so about like what this kind of meant for him, what his goals were. He said, if I can make this and it's going to be one person's favorite movie in the world, I've succeeded. He's at a point in his career where the money doesn't really matter to him. He just wants to do and iterate and learn from the process and make stuff that he feels really passionate about and enjoys, and that really shined through when he was out on stage.
All right, well, I think that's a fantastic transition to what's happening in theaters right now. So in addition to Markiplier, this past weekend, this is bananas, you guys. The top 3 movies coming out in theaters were Backrooms by YouTuber Kane Parsons, Obsession by YouTuber Curry Barker, and the number 3 movie was The Mandalorian and Grogu by Jon Favreau, a freaking Star Wars movie. Was the 3rd top grossing movie of the weekend, which is bananas. And I think it's worth noting that Backrooms was made supposedly for around $10 million. Obsession was made for about less than $1 million. I mean, these are like 10 millions are relatively like moderate, like sort of like budget for movies. And Star Wars was made for like infinitely more than that. And this is just a moment that is happening where there's like this transition where these kids that grew up are now ready to sort of make features. So I think what's exciting about this is that like the feature film is not dead. People, by the way, and kids want to go to theaters. That's also really exciting. I think that is an experience that is, I think, an important experience, and not everything should be, shot and seen on your phone. But I also think what's interesting about this, that it's worth noting that all these films, Markiplier's included, are horror films. And what makes that genre I think unique is like there definitely is a level of scrappiness that you can do with horror that I think you can't really kind of get away with for a theatrical release with other genres. And there's just like a cult following. So it's like the perfect genre, I think, to sort of be the I don't want to say first foray, but like this makes sense that this is where the initial kind of levels of success are happening because you can really do this for like a budget, and it's crazy, it's exciting.
Yeah, I think in moments like this, it's easy to get blown out of proportion and be like, okay, YouTubers are the next filmmakers.
Right.
And they're going to be amazing. And you got to go find a bunch of YouTubers who can go make films and then go make them with them.
Yes.
I think it's good to like isolate on what actually happened here. One of them is they're all in the
Which, by
horror
the way, has
genre.
been we've tried to do this before in other genres, and it hasn't really worked.
It is worth noting that these are all horror movies. I think
Mhm.
if we were going to make this the kind of blanket statement that YouTube is now where original IP can manifest and be created and cultivated and then be distributed to a much wider platform with a bigger budget and a much bigger potential audience, there would need to be some like rom-com or some kind of drama or some type of suspense thriller that originated on YouTube and came from a YouTube creator that then went out to the masses. I think it's too early to talk about that yet, but you can say for sure that YouTube creators are coming up with original IP that is doing incredibly well on the platform and then translating very successfully to a much wider theatrical audience.
I think also the opportunity here, and I work with a lot of companies like this, is figuring out like how kind of the traditional media can help exploit potentially in these other categories, this IP into bigger, like, bigger experiences, like features, for example. Like, I think that, listen, I'm gonna be real. YouTubers historically are not like the best collaborators in a lot of way because they like to do things on their own because that's the way they've always done it. I mean, that's
Yes.
just the way it is. Those that I have seen that have been the most successful are those that collaborate, those that have the most longevity because you will burn out. 100% guaranteed you will burn out if you do everything on your own. So there's a real opportunity for those that are like open to collaborating because I can tell you there's a lot of traditional media companies that want to figure this out, and they're very good at building IP and exploiting it and distributing it and merchandising it and all this sort of stuff. So the ones that are savvy on both sides, traditional and sort of creator, and I also like to say caveat asterisk, it's all media. It's not separate, but sure. Those are the ones that like that's what I'm really excited to see is I think there's going to be even more and more of an appetite for all this because of the success. And so this is but I mean beating Star Wars is not nothing.
Yeah, it's a big deal. I also think it's worth noting
nothing.
that Kane Parsons, aka Kane Pixels on YouTube,
Mhm.
won a Streamy Award a few years ago.
Obviously.
Was a creator honor
Obviously.
from MadPat who shouted him out early on in his trajectory.
Obviously.
And two, he created this whole new genre
Mm.
called Backrooms.
Mhm.
And you could see it employed by Severance, relied heavily on the genre and was directly influenced by it. There's also all these other types of creators, whether they're Roblox or Minecraft creators or just other horror creators that are utilizing the Backrooms kind of like aesthetic and just core lore in a lot of their storytelling formats. And so that I think is a lot of its success too. It's not just take any kind
Mhm.
of horror person
Mhm.
online
Mhm.
that they're not going to translate to this kind of degree. It's really he created this genre and he should be awarded for that. And it's obviously doing very well. So much so that now there's all these brands on board that are making their own Backrooms parodies. McDonald's came out with a few.
Oh, really?
Uh, but that doesn't happen if it's just some like random kind of horror adaptation. It happens when you get real innovative IP that hasn't been seen before that is easily replicable that other people can riff on.
All right, Josh, very excited to hear your interview with Robert. Let's get to it.
Robert Kaliati, thank you so much for coming on Creator Upload. We're incredibly excited to have you here.
Hey, Josh, nice to see you again after you underestimated your pickleball skills a couple of months ago when we first met. So anybody tries to, or if Josh has to tell you that he's not as good as pickleball as he says he is, that's a lie.
I appreciate you bringing that up. I was contemplating it, but thank you. You were a very good opponent. I appreciate you playing with me. And so you are president of Hammer Media, and Hammer Media is Caleb Hammer, who is I describe him as a financial auditor YouTuber who brings individuals and personalities and other creators on his platform and goes over basically their whole financial scope and picture. He'll like dive into numbers and bank accounts and 401ks and investments and tell you to your face you're doing something terribly wrong or terribly right. And he's done that incredibly successfully. Caleb's racking up several million views per video. He has over 3.2 million subscribers on YouTube now. And so like that's one aspect of the Caleb Hammer empire. Tell us about the other components of it too.
When I came into Hammer Media a few years ago, it was just the channel. Caleb had the channel for about a year. A lot of the content on the channel is about getting better with your finances in Caleb's, crazy way of, yelling at you or whatever it is, right? We use a lot of that following to build up a lot of different business entities that, one, are entertaining and also help you with your finances, right? So we have the luxury of having both sides of the entertainment aspect of it, but also the personal finances and bettering yourself. So we have products like our membership DollarWise, which is our budgeting app. And so DollarWise is about 40,000 subscribers strong at this point. And it's all about teaching you how to budget and becoming a better budgeter. We also have our educational side of the business, which involves courses and other free tools and things like that you can take advantage of to become better financially and learn about how to budget and get out of debt and get real estate and all these things that aren't really taught in school. And then there's also the YouTube membership, Hammer Elite, which we just launched on the Uscreen platform, about 108,000 members strong. And in that membership, we just take financial audit and go a lot deeper, make even more content around financial audit, around the audit kind of style in general, and whatever else we kind of want to make in our really true super fans want to see.
Those are some incredible numbers. And DollarWise, that's relatively new too, that application, right?
We started DollarWise a couple of years ago. We didn't think it would be as big as it was. And so we launched it. It had a lot of traction. And so late last year, Caleb and I decided to rebuild the entire thing. In February, we launched DollarWise again, completely new branding, completely new base, completely new features, and are building off of that as well.
I like how you said you're in this unique position where you're definitely providing some entertainment for the masses, but then also this educational component too. Kind of like if Jim Cramer had his own courses and different type of programs and membership groups that people could join if they want to learn more about finance. That's kind of what I picture this for Caleb Hammer, more in instead of an investment sphere, it's let's take control of our own financial security and our future. And then you'd be able to convert this audience you get like rather effectively into these kind of 3 different tiers. And you are one of the biggest membership channels on all of YouTube. Is that right?
Yeah, we're one of the biggest. Like I said, we're sitting at about 108,000 memberships strong at this point, and it's still growing incredibly quickly. And on your point about converting our audience members into the products, I think what we've done a good job of is figuring out what the audience actually needs and building that. And so we've experimented with a lot of different things, and these have been the things that people have really latched onto and are really interested in. And as a result, we've said, hey, let's double down and give the audience what they need to become better financially, not from a stock trading perspective or a, get rich quick perspective, but from a, here are the financial principles. Here's what you need to get the footing to make sure that you don't screw yourself in a few years.
Okay. And so with that massive audience you've built, you've been able to transition them into these channel memberships, these paying subscribers on YouTube. But we were talking about this during the pickleball match. It seems like that has its limitations as well. Like it's good up to a certain point, and then you wanted something more. So tell us like what's great about YouTube channel memberships, what was lacking, and what made you decide you need to look off platform to provide some better functionality.
Going back to the story of the membership in general, we initially started on Patreon. And Patreon wasn't really getting any traction for us, right? We're honestly on the verge of canceling the membership entirely and just moving on to another project. At the end of that, we said, okay, let's just put this thing on a YouTube membership and see what happens. We put the same content on YouTube And all of a sudden, things just started working for us. People started joining. And the reason for that, I think, is because YouTube is just the biggest content platform. It's already where they're consuming our content. And it was just a lot easier to say, hey, I'm going to join on YouTube
Yep.
as opposed to going off to Patreon. So that's what YouTube is great for. It is great for us building a platform for our fans that they can consume more content on without having to rely on the algorithm, without having to rely on brand deals in order to make a video work. Like if you
Yep.
want to make content and our audience wants to see it, we can put it on YouTube. Now, the limitations become is there's a smaller group of super fans or a smaller subset of these people who want the Caleb Hammer experience. YouTube is great. It's built for a lot of creators, a lot of different creators in a lot of different genres. But with our new off-platform app in Uscreen, we can build an experience for just our audience only. And so, for example, we're not the most PC content creators in the world. On Uscreen, we can put out more uncensored content. We put out a ton of content. We put out 3 shows a day, 7 days a week.
Wow.
And on Uscreen, yeah, we can organize it any way we want to. And, and to your point there, like nobody's doing this. And so we needed a platform that works for us in our unique way of putting out content.
And so tell me more about, like, from an audience ownership perspective, what does that look like?
Yeah. So obviously when we're on YouTube, we are still reliant on the YouTube rules and the YouTube system, right? Like if YouTube doesn't like the content, they can take it down. If YouTube wants to demonetize us, they can take it down. If you just like our channel, they can take that down. And so we have the same ownership of the audience on YouTube in our memberships that we have on financial audit in front of the paywall. On top of that, YouTube doesn't always give us the data that we need. And I understand it, right? You can't just be giving a bunch of random YouTubers all this data on a bunch of different people, right? Especially when you don't know them all personally. And so we don't get things like emails, so we can't communicate with our audience.
Right.
So when we go off to Uscreen, we can say, okay, first, we solve the problem of being beholden to YouTube and its rules and their governance over us and our content. But also, we can take those audience members, get their email addresses, get some information from them and start communicating to them a little bit more frequently. Like, hey, do you like Hammer Elite? We have all these other products for you. Or
Right.
we have all these other free resources. Or, hey, we have these things outside of the YouTube ecosystem that we can take them to. And if God forbid anything happened to YouTube, it's like we have a bit of a safety net. And that's something I really feel like a lot of creators would benefit from building and has given us a lot of peace of mind as well.
So it's great to have this community that you can build off platform. You can gather all this new information from, and you can get their email addresses and you can communicate them in different ways. And you don't have to be beholden to the algorithm or any other new types of rules or regulations YouTube employs. But how do you get them there? Like, what's been your conversion rate? I think lots of people see this as a ideal end goal for them, for their community, but it seems hard to move these people off platform. How do you do it?
I think where a lot of creators fail is they don't think enough about the offer and what they're actually giving people.
Yeah.
And we focus on the offer first. So for Hammer Elite, I don't think many creators are saying, hey, you're getting 7 shows a week, 3 times a day, basically. So we have an offering off platform that I think is enticing for an audience member. At the same time, I don't think you can ignore the pull of Caleb as well. You just have to be a brand and a person that people can actually follow and can get on board with, and they want to see Caleb off platform in his raw and uncensored format. I think as well, like a lot of creators ignore the marketing aspect of it too, right? We do offer benefits for being off platform. Right now we're offering the Hammer for Life package, where the first 1,000 people who buy get, a Caleb Hammer plushie, a credit card skin,
Nice.
a budgeting notebook, a limited edition coin, a branded hat. Like we spent a lot of time on this creator box.
Yeah.
And by joining off platform, you're getting something that's incredibly special and that only you get. And so I think if you're trying to get somebody off platform, focus on the offer And also focus on the funnel too. Like, we didn't go straight to off platform. We built the YouTube membership first. We built that trust. We showed people that, hey, on the platform you like, we have content that you can enjoy. And then we said, if you want even more and you want a better experience or a different experience or a Caleb Hammer experience, go here and you can get it here.
So you're kind of conditioning your audience for this kind of behavior where then they get excited about something more and a deeper form of engagement with a creator that they really enjoy watching.
Yeah, totally. It's like we're meeting them where they are.
Yeah.
And then at some point, they're ready to go off platform, and then that's where they go.
And then so you have this, like, as president of Hammer Industries, I imagine you're constantly looking at the like whole organization and how it's operating and developing. What numbers are you looking at the most here? Like, are you trying to get down churn rate? What's your conversion rate for getting people off platform? What numbers are you obsessing about and staring at?
So the number one thing that I obsess about is retention across all of our products.
Yep.
And not just retention in terms of how many people are coming back and paying the subscription price, but it's how many people are actually watching the content, how many people are actually using the services that we provide. Because if they're actually using it, then that means they're likely to come back and subscribe the next month. In the short term, if you rely on retention or churn, I think from a subscription perspective, it could be misleading because somebody could forget to cancel, or
Right.
they could be saying, hey, I'm just going to stay on for a while. But if you see that they're actually using the subscription and it's a part of their lives, then you really understand that, hey, when this thing goes, they are going to be missing something. One question that I ask myself and my team all the time is, do you feel like our customers or our audience can live without this thing? And if the answer is they can, then we need to fix something, right? Is
Yeah.
their morning commute going to be messed up? I hope so. Well, I don't hope so. I hope planning because of their morning commute.
Yeah.
Or is their budgeting improving? And if they didn't have this app, they'd be spending way more money than they should be. And so it always starts with retention as that big number. And then, as a lagging indicator, you get to things like churn.
Yep.
And if you're not doing a good job with the retention piece, you're going to see that churn number go up. And the churn then affects the LTV, and the lifetime value of a customer is just super important, and making sure that people, that we're not having to constantly find new customers, because that in and of itself is expensive, and it's harder to do than just keeping the people that are already super fans, that are already interested in your content.
What's the financial picture look like? What are the differentiating factors between what memberships on YouTube look like and what these subscriptions on Uscreen look like?
So YouTube obviously takes a premium, and they definitely deserve and should do that. They're bringing the audience to you. They're bringing a lot of the people to the platform. And so they do take a higher split. I believe it is like a 70-30 split on YouTube. And then when we go to Uscreen, they're taking a much lower split. And it makes a lot of sense because they're not actually bringing in the audience, right? We're bringing the audience to Uscreen.
Right.
And so when it's all said and done, the fees differ month over month, but it's about 5 to 7%, I believe, that they're taking, given the size of our subscription. And remember, we have like thousands of subscribers, so it's different for everybody.
Right.
But far lower than what YouTube is taking.
Yeah, that's a big difference. And I understand you still need to scale over there, but that 20 some odd percent can create a lot of additional revenue for you to create a lot more programming and incentives for the audience that follows you there.
And that's what we're doing. We can offer these Hammer for Life boxes. We can create more content. We can put more into building sets. The audience is going to see a lot of new sets. They're going to see a lot higher production quality. They're going to see a lot of new shows coming. And a lot of that is going to come from that extra cash that we're saving from Uscreen.
Robert, congrats on all the success you've had here. Where can we check out all the different entities you're up to?
Check us out on calebhammer.com, dollarwise.com for the budgeting app. You can find me on LinkedIn, Robert Kaliati, and Caleb and team as well on all platforms. Just search Caleb Hammer. He's the first one you'll see.
And then where do we find this new Caleb Hammer Elite?
Yep, go to hammerelite.com and you'll find Hammer Elite. We're running a special deal right now. There's still some Hammer for Life boxes left. We still have a discount on the annual to the end of the month. So great time to check it out and see if you like it.
Thank you so much for coming on. Stoked to have you here. Looking forward to seeing how this does in the future.
Awesome. Thanks, Josh. Pleasure speaking to you again, man.
All right, Josh, do you have any uploads or downloads?
Lauren, a quick one for you. KSI is reportedly leaving the Sidemen.
I mean,
So
I heard.
one of the biggest influencers / creators in the world, KSI, he started Prime with Logan Paul. He has been on the platform for over a decade plus. He ended his 13-year run as a member of the Sidemen. People in the community are still like unclear if it's a joke or he lost the challenge or something else is going to come out.
Is this for real? Like, what do we think?
People think that like he's a big Arsenal fan and the video got released after Arsenal lost the Champions League's final. So they think that that might be part of it.
We're
that he
talking
lost a bet or
football.
something.
Football.
Yes.
We're talking.
Yeah,
yes.
we're talking football.
Football.
But it's probably just unfortunate timing. But KSI, more so than anyone else in the Sidemen, is the Justin Timberlake of the group. And he said he's just kind of like doing too much and wants to focus. He's been a guest judge on Britain's Got Talent. He's joined the ownership group for a London area soccer club, Dagenham and Redbridge FC. He really has like this burgeoning music career that he dips in and out of at times. So I think that dude just like wants to focus on other stuff. He said, quote, "Over the last few years, I felt myself being pulled in a lot of directions. I feel like I've been running full speed, 100 miles per hour. I spent so long trying to be everything for everyone, trying to be everywhere, trying to do it all, trying not to let anyone down. But somewhere along the way, I started losing the balance of my own life."
I think that if you took the attribution of KSI away from there, that is essentially the quote from every mother in the world.
Sure. Yes.
Any mother.
The original creators.
The original creators. Oh my God. Mic drop. I think we should just end the podcast forever now. That was amazing. Also, always appreciate a NSYNC reference. So thank you very much for the Justin Timberlake up.
Hey, you're welcome.
Real quickly, want to mention, I don't know, upload. I mean, certainly for him. Did you know that Jay Shetty left YouTube apparently for $100 million deal to go to Netflix and Spotify? So Spotify and Netflix so basically poached Jay Shetty to take his podcast on purpose that was on YouTube for apparently like $100 million. I find this really interesting. There was like a bidding war because they kind of, I thought, had gotten kind of out of the exclusive stuff, but I think because it's also like going to be on Netflix, that's why they're doing exclusively. So it's just very interesting. This is the first kind of, I think, I don't know if it's the first one, but one of the first deals that they're sort of doing with their sort of new partnership, Netflix and Spotify. So I thought this was fascinating that he's going to just take it off YouTube because YouTube is becoming like the #1 place where you're watching podcasts, but this is showing like a very big kind of play for them.
Lauren, this isn't the first time Spotify or Netflix have done this, but it is one of the first times they've done it with kind of a podcast that's outside of their own network. So the Ringer podcast, which is Bill Simmons' network, he was acquired by Spotify, and his episodes are not available on YouTube. There are highlight clips, there are some back catalogs, but his full new episodes aren't available on that platform. They're available on Spotify and on Netflix. And so this is the first time they made this big blockbuster deal. One of the first big blockbuster deals for a big podcast we've seen in a while. Where they're pulling it off of YouTube, or just at least the full episodes off of YouTube, and then putting it on their own platforms.
All right, Josh, I think we did it.
Lauren, I think that's it. I'll see you pulling your catalog off of YouTube in hopes to get a deal with Spotify and Netflix too.
Whilst lobbying Congress.
Yeah, talk to your local representative, see if they can help make that happen. If not there, next week on Creator Upload. Today's show was produced by Lauren Schnipper, Joshua Cohen, that's me, and Adam Connor. It's edited by Adam Connor too. Original music is by London Bridge. You can check him out on Instagram at London Bridge Music. Make sure you subscribe to Creator Upload right here on YouTube, on Apple Podcasts as well, Spotify, or wherever you're listening. While you're there, give us a rating and leave us a comment. If you want to talk, hit us up at info@creatorupload.com. If you like our show, recommend it to a friend. If you love it, just tell everyone. Thanks for listening to Creator Upload, and we will be back next week.